funny, you know, it's like he uses noodly appendage to, you know, change outcomes, you know, he's invisible, he, you know, yeah.
I like it.
He makes sure that the pirates, you know, are coming up in the world and stuff like that.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll look into that.
You
or
should.
not. Hey,
or trash it on.
Okay, we're running a little bit short on time. I want to get to this question. We'll take a few questions. We're going to wrap it up, and then we'll open it up for more questions. Okay, as a non-believer in a room full of believers, okay, how can you help us? Like, tell us, what advice would you give us as Christians from, like, you're a non-believer, what could we do to you or for you that would make us less offensive in the way we act, or I don't know what it is, but what?
Okay. In general, I think you can try to think of yourself as, you know, you can be Christian, you can be whatever, but think of yourself as a human and think of me as a human and consider it that way, as in, you know, you as, I'm an atheist, you're a Christian. You know, instead think of it as humans. And then they're even just thinking, putting that in your head, that would probably, you know, make it, you know, less tension and, you know, make it a little easier just to relate as human beings.
So I just want to draw, like, focus in on this a little bit. Look at you as a human, look at us as a human. Are you saying that, and maybe you have already said this before, but you feel looked down on because you're not a Christian?
Well, but
what does that
no,
mean?
it seems like they have pity for me.
Okay.
When they find that I don't believe in God, you know, because maybe it's done something great for them to believe in it, but it hasn't really done that much for me, you know, or they may think that it hasn't done anything for me, or they think that my life is, you know, less, you know, has been lessened because I haven't, you know, believed.
So you're saying don't treat you differently because you're a non-Christian.
Yeah, I mean, I try not to. You know, I'm sure there are times when it's happened, but you know, that's just human nature. Okay. To you know, see someone who's different from you, and you know, think that, you know, maybe they're doing something wrong, or since it's not what you believe in, you know, sometimes you can't help but, you know, cast them out.
Okay. Now, one thing, you know, we have a relationship, so I feel like I can say things to you.
Yeah, sure.
And one of the things I say to you all the time is, you're not going to have that atheist label for long. Like, you're going to be a Christian someday.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
I keep telling you to stop saying that, but yeah.
What if does that have an effect on you? Is that a negative thing, or do you just look at that? Oh, that's just Dennis being Dennis.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those things that also, like, turns people off from Christianity, I think, is that they think that all Christians are trying to push their beliefs on them and try to convert them to be Christians, which to a sense seems true, but it doesn't seem like it's, you know, as much as people, as, you know, non-Christians think it is. You know, they think that, you know, everyone's like a Jehovah's Witness or something, when that's obviously not true.
Well, that's kind of that's something I'm looking for, is their perception, maybe not as much as truth. I wish that we were out doing more. Yeah. Like, as silly, as weird as this sounds in a group full of Christians, I really admire the efforts of the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Mormons, because they put forth such an effort to get people to believe the way they believe, even though I don't believe what they believe.
Yeah, but then you're forcing someone to do something, you know, instead of them making the choice. Wouldn't it be better for them to make the choice themselves?
Yeah. And yeah, the point I'm getting at is, maybe you're saying, I'm losing my train of thought here. What I think I hear you saying is that their perception is that all we care about is converting them to Christianity.
Yeah.
Well, but I mean, you're saying that's probably not really true. That that's not our #1 goal.
Yeah, I'm not saying that that's what it is, but that's what I think turns some people off from it.
Okay, cool. And I don't disagree with that concept. I believe that you care for the person first, and then you care for, like, once they know you have that relationship with them, then they're open to that relationship with God. Maybe.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm not saying that I hate it when you do that, or, you know, when you say you're going to be a Christian soon. I mean, maybe it annoys me sometimes. Maybe sometimes I think it's funny, you know. Yeah. But, you know, I keep saying, we'll see. You know, I don't know. Cool. I mean,
Awesome. We're going to end it there. We're going to open it up for some questions. I'm sure there's a lot. A big question right here. We're only going to have a few minutes for questions, and then I'm going to do a wrap up. Okay, so go.
Okay, so
Talk
this is kind of gonna go in a series of like short questions. Just to get your perspective. Sorry, I'm one of those people who like just. Okay, so my first kind of question is: do you see like religion, and specifically Christianity, as an institute?
To an extent, but I mean, there are definitely Christians people who consider themselves Christians but don't go to church and don't, believe everything. So I mean, maybe people can be Christian without thinking they're Christian, sometimes. I mean, it's kind of hard to explain that, fully, but,
Cool.
And then, so there's this verse in here, and I don't know, like, what your views on the Bible are, but, like, I take it as, like, it says in here, religion that God our Father accepts as pure and faultless is this, to look after orphans and widows in their distress, and to keep oneself from being polluted by the world. And kind of
What's
what
the
I
reference
wanted
for that?
that's James 1:27.
Okay.
So I'm curious, like, I never heard this phrase until I became a Christian, but it's a phrase that says Christianity isn't a religion, it's a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of wondering, have you ever heard it in that way? And what are your views, if you have, or hearing it now?
Yeah, I've heard it in that way, but it's to the extent that anything from Christianity, you can take it, out of Christianity, even, if it's just a relationship with a higher power. My dad, I can say, has that relationship. He thinks there's a higher power, but he doesn't think there's a God. So he's a theist, and he doesn't think there's necessarily a person called God, but he thinks that there's something more than just this physical world that we live in. And that to an extent, I believe that it's hard to say that we even exist, in a sense that, this is getting into, one of those philosophies that all we perceive, is every, millisecond at a time, and then, that's all we know is for sure. We don't know even, the next second if we're dead. We don't know. We can't tell what's going on in the next millisecond,
Okay.
So that's kind of a little philosophy that's a little out there, but
yeah.
That's just something I personally believe.
One last question.
And then one other thing was, you said that there's no 100% truth, or like proof, but the whole thing of the Bible is faith. Like, there's a laptop right there. No one can argue that there's not a laptop right there. And then it's not.
I mean, you can argue it, but you'll seem like an idiot if you argue it.
Yeah, for sure. But the point is that it's a choice, because the Bible says it's a choice for us to love. Like, if we're forced to love someone, it's not really love, and then you.
But you can make the decision to love someone without being a Christian and without knowing the Bible at all.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, loving God and stuff, like, you're saying there's no proof, but then wouldn't it seem more contradictory if there was 100% truth? Or proof? Sorry.
Wait, I don't get what question you're asking me then.
Well, I'm saying, like...
It may be contradictory to the Bible, but it would... If someone said, if someone could prove to me that there was a 100% God, I would believe in it, because it would make sense, because they would have to prove it to me.
Yeah, but I'm saying if there was 100% proof, wouldn't that seem more contradictory? Because the whole thing is faith and choosing the love, and then
it may be contradictory to the Bible, but it'd be however they proved it to me would make sense, because that's them proving it to me. I mean, maybe I'm not understanding the question correctly. But
yeah, I'm not phrasing it.
I think what Nikki's saying is that if we can, and maybe you're not, maybe I'm reading into this, but another part of what you're saying is if we can comprehend God, then He's not really God. Like, if we have all the answers, yeah, exactly. He's not who He says He is if we can fully wrap our minds around it.
Well, but I mean, that's why. That's one of those things where it's like that's what the Bible does. They've thought of all the loopholes. They've thought of everything that you could think to not believe in it. And that's one of those things where it's like they've done their job in making a religion.
Yeah, I will tell you, just to give you the Christian perspective, is that the Bible definitely leaves some things out there like we don't know. Like it talks about the mystery of God. How we don't know everything.